That's the most important quality factor for an event in Malaysia, is the food must be good.
Yeah.
I know after lunch we also need a bit of digestion, so I'm very happy to introduce our first speaker who keeps things light and easy to digest for us after the lunch break. And who is our first speaker of this afternoon? Our first speaker is one of Asia's leading voices in policy alignment, governance and sustainable finance. Mr. Looi Teck Kheong, I hope pronounced correctly, is the principal consultant at Public Policy Asia Advisors, and he has more than 30 years of experience in public policy, sustainability and corporate governance. He also previously served at the Asean Secretariat in Jakarta, where he led key portfolios on anti-corruption, consumer protection and intellectual property rights, advancing regional cooperation across 10 member states. Mr. Looi has been at the forefront of ASEAN's ESG and circular economy frameworks, notably co-developing the ASEAN Sustainable Consumption Toolkit and advising governments and corporations on aligning local policies with global sustainability taxonomies. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Looi Teck Kheong to open our session of this afternoon. And his topic of today is Standardizing Sustainability, Harmonizing Taxonomies for Effective Reporting. Give him a big applause.
Thank you very much, Dan. Thank you very much, and a very good afternoon to all of you. So, without further ado, it is truly an honor. To be here with you at the ESG ASIA Summit, where we all are united in shaping our region's sustainable future. So, as many of you know from the credible work happening inside your own organizations, we are building a future on critical pillars, like the circular economy, which is essential for maximizing resource efficiency in our rapidly growing markets, sustainable finance, which directs capital toward long-term environmental and social benefits, social impact, ensuring that our progress generates uplifts marginalized communities and addresses inequality, and policy innovation, where forward-thinking regulations turn ambition into powerful action. So these aren't just buzzwords, they are the backbone of Asia's response to global challenges like climate change and economic disparity. Today I'm excited to dive into topics that sit at the intersection of all these pillars: standardizing, sustainability, harmonizing, taxonomies for effective reporting. This is the engine that allows us to measure, compare, and scale our collective efforts effectively. So over the next 40 minutes, we are going to build a shared understanding. We'll start with a relatable story, one many of you might have encountered in your daily operation, perhaps navigating a supplier audit or an investor due diligence call. Then we'll unpack the real costs for our fragmented system. I suspect this has frustrated more than a few of you, from delayed funding rounds to compliance headaches that suck away resources away from core innovation. But we won't stop at the problem. We'll explore the promising solutions emerging right here in Asia, drawing on regional successes like the ASEAN Taxonomy, which is brilliant at accommodating diverse economic stages, and global alignments with frameworks like the ISSB standards. Finally, we'll wrap up with practical, actionable steps that we can all take back to our organization, whether you're in business, finance, or policy. So this isn't about dry compliance checklists. This is about creating a common language that empowers us to accelerate Asia's transition to net zero, nature positive economy. Think about the impact. Harmonized taxonomies can unlock trillions in green investments by reducing uncertainty. They foster inclusive growth, benefiting workers through upskilling and communities via localized impact assessments. In ESG terms, harmonization strengthens governance through transparency, bolsters environmental stewardship via consistent metrics, and amplifies social outcomes by embedding equity into reporting. So before we dive in, let me just ask a quick question. How many of you here have ever wrestled with mismatched sustainability reports when dealing with cross-border partners or investors? Maybe you've seen two different definitions of a green activity across jurisdictions. Anyone? Yeah, I see those knowing smiles. Exactly, that's why we are here today. So in a region as dynamic as Asia, where ESG investments are projected to surge beyond $3 trillion by 2030, these mismatches aren't just inconveniences, they are barriers to collective progress. So by harmonizing taxonomies, we can align with international best practices, like the EU's SFDR, while crucially adopting to local contexts, such as incorporating Asia-specific risks like water scarcity or urban resilience. So this expertise-driven approach ensures our reporting is interconnected, not siloed, driving real systemic change. All right, let's kick things off with a simple story that brings this issue to life, highlighting how fragmented standards can turn good intentions into operational roadblocks. Okay, let me paint a very relatable picture for you. One that I guarantee echoes challenges in your own industries, whether you're sourcing materials, evaluating suppliers, or reporting to investors. Imagine you will 2 everyday plastic bottles. The first bottle comes from Vietnam. It's beautifully crafted with 30% recycled content, all sourced from local collection programs. Now this bottle is a success story because it's not just reducing waste, it's supporting community jobs in the informal recycling sector. And it's also aligning very well with those crucial social ESG pillars. So it probably bears a circular label, certified under Vietnam's national standard for recycled plastics. It's a new important standard pioneered to address the country's growing waste crisis right at home. That's all about local, environmental, and social benefits. Now, the second bottle hails from Thailand. It also boasts 30% recycled content, but this one includes imported recycled flakes from international sources. Now, this approach champions global efficiency in material flows, helping reduce the carbon footprint of virgin plastic production. And it's a huge climate win. It features a different green logo, certification, the Thai Green Label, one that highlights cross-border sustainability and focuses on minimizing environmental impact throughout the product's entire life cycle. So it aligns with Thailand's national goals for a circular economy by emphasizing reduced resource consumption. Now, here's where it gets tricky. And I bet many of you have been in similar spots. We have an investor in Singapore trying to decide which bottle production to fund for the greatest environmental impact. They are weighing factors like life cycle emissions and local biodiversity preservation. We have a consumer in the Philippines wondering which one to pick to make a truly eco-friendly choice, concerned about plastic pollution in our marine ecosystems. And we have a brand owner in Malaysia who wants to incorporate both their regional supply chain without worrying about inconsistencies or critically accusations of greenwashing. So I ask you, which one is truly more sustainable? The frustrating truth is we don't know. Without harmonized standards, we are all navigating a maze of good intentions, but conflicting definitions. This isn't just a hypothetical problem, it's the kind of fragmentation that stalls progress in our circular economies. Differing labels and safety standards between countries like Thailand and Vietnam create real barriers to cross-border trade in recycled materials, ultimately slowing Asia's shift towards net zero. So in your experience, how has this kind of confusion impacted your decisions or partnerships? Maybe by delaying investments or complicating compliance with international frameworks? Exactly. It's a barrier we all face, one that not only drives up our operational costs, but also dilutes the social benefits of sustainable practices by fragmenting our efforts to create jobs and reduce inequality. So let's now look at the tangible cost this creates for all of us, from stifled finance flows to amplified greenwashing risk. So why does harmonizing these taxonomies matter so deeply to us? Because fragmentation isn't an abstract theory, it's a massive operational cost. As delegates here on the front lines of ESG, you know this misalignment is directly hitting our bottom lines, stifling our ability to innovate, and eroding the hard-won trust we built with stakeholders. This is more than just a financial hit. It undermines the core ESG mandate. It delays decarbonization. It exacerbates inequalities by burdening smaller enterprises. And it fosters a kind of opacity that invites regulatory scrutiny. So let's unpack the 4 real-world costs that are directly impacting your work, linking them to the very themes of this summit: sustainable finance, circularity, and governance. First, fragmentation stifles green finance and jacks up the cost of capital. Think about the trillions in potential ESG investments Asia needs for net zero. Companies like Solar Philippines, admired for their bold renewable push, encountered major hurdles, funding their 500 million watt solar farm. They were forced to juggle alignment with the Asean Taxonomy for regional backers, the stringent do no significant harm criteria of EU standards for international lenders, and local Philippine bank requirements all at the same time. These mismatched technical criteria led to extended timelines, pushing back activation by years, and consultant fees reaching the hundreds of thousands of dollars just to navigate the discrepancies. This isn't an isolated incident. Divergent taxonomies increase due diligence costs for global investors and ultimately slow capital flows. This particularly disadvantages smaller players, our SMEs in emerging markets, by imposing a green premium that can add 10 to 20% to borrowing costs. So has this kind of red tape delayed your own green projects? Perhaps in securing a loan for a new wind or solar initiative? It's a shared frustration that's costing Asia's sustainable finance market dearly. Now, second, the administrative burden in crippling businesses by siphoning off precious resources that could be fueling through innovation. Consider a major brand like H&M, with supply chains spanning Indonesia, Vietnam, and Bangladesh. They are forced to allocate an estimated 20 to 30% of their sustainability budgets just to navigate redundant thresholds for water recycling materials and fair labor practices across different countries. Think about that. That budget isn't channeled into pioneering advanced textile recycling technologies or deep dives supplier upskilling. It's lost to redundant paperwork and duplicated audits. So this resonates, right? Our teams should be focused on breakthroughs in sustainable materials, not buried in spreadsheets, trying to reconcile transition tiers. That burden exacerbates governance challenges and delays the adoption of low-impact practices globally. So imagine the impact if we could reallocate these compliance funds to collaborative tools or large-scale decarbonization efforts. So third, fragmentation is also fertile ground for greenwashing, which undermines the trust we all work so hard to build. When the definitions of green and sustainable are vague and reporting is inconsistent, it creates vast space for misleading claims. We've seen this repeatedly. Vague claims about recycling from major corporate alliances, or instances where brands are called out in Southeast Asia for mixing low-impact waste without standardized assessments. So the consequence, this erodes consumer and investor confidence, devaluing genuine sustainability efforts by up to 15% through lost market value and trust. So greenwashing doesn't just harm a single brand, it weakens governance across the board and betrays stakeholders' expectations, especially in coastal communities disproportionately affected by waste. So finally, it actively fragments the supply chains essential for our circular economy. So this cost is physical. For instance, plastic waste collected efficiently in Indonesia often can't efficiently cross to Malaysian recycling facilities due to differing national definitions of a recyclable material. Now this prevents economies of scale and blocks essential regional cooperation, hitting our green infrastructure ambitions hard. So we are building silos when we need seamless integration to achieve a truly circular, resilient Asia. So we are losing out on the potential to manage the vast majority of our waste because we can't agree on what to call it. So together these four costs, stifled finance, crippling admin, eroded trust, and fragmented supply chains, shows us exactly why harmonization is not just a regulatory nice to have, it is an urgent economic imperative for our shared ESG future. So let's now pivot to the solutions that are emerging right here in Asia to tackle these challenges head on. But to bring this challenge home even more, let's quantify the impact. These are numbers that likely echo in your own boardroom and reports. They underscore the core ESG imperatives we are all navigating. environmental delays, social opportunity costs, and governance inefficiencies. These figures aren't isolated. They are interconnected barriers that fragmented taxonomies amplify across our region. By looking at them, we understand the urgency of harmonizing standards to align with frameworks like the ISSB. First, let's talk clean power. Annually, 1 to 2 gigawatts of renewable capacity gets delayed across ASEAN due to the financing complexities from these mismatched taxonomies. Think about that scale. That's enough clean power to electrify millions of homes in rapidly urbanizing cities like Jakarta or Manila. Communities we serve that are already grappling with energy poverty and rising temperatures. This talk isn't just technical, it's a governance shortfall. Institutional investors are wary of inconsistent green classifications, leading to prolonged due diligence and higher risk premiums. Environmentally, this postpones emissions reductions critical for our net zero pathways. Socially, it limits access to reliable energy for vulnerable populations. So see this 1 to 2 gigawatt figure? That's the scale of stall ambition we are facing right now. So how many of your projects have felt this pinch? Next, look at our circular economy. Recycling rates in Southeast Asia are stubbornly below 50%. This isn't from lack of will among the innovators in this room, it's because incompatible standards hinder cross-border waste management and efficient circular flows. In many ASEAN countries, effective recycling is often as low as 6 to 14%, constrained by mismatched definitions of recyclable that blocks seamless trade. Environmentally, this perpetuates plastic leakage into our oceans. Socially, we are missing some immense opportunities for inclusive employment in recycling hubs that could support millions. This low benchmark is a call to action for unified taxonomies. Imagine the impact if we could boost circularity by 20 to 30% through better regional interoperability. And here is a stat that hits every budget. 30% of our sustainability budget are squandered on compliance rather than action. So this money is trapped in reconciling divergent reporting requirements across borders, diverting funds from high-impact ESG initiatives. Imagine what your organization could achieve with that 30% freedom. We could be innovating new bio-based materials, scaling up inclusive initiatives that embed social equity into supply chains, or amplifying returns on biodiversity investments. Instead, that money is lost to redundant paperwork. These three hard facts, renewable delays, low recycling, wasted budgets, show us the tangible impact of fragmentation. They are the core data points driving our need for harmonization, which in turn could attract over $1 trillion in annual green finance by 2030. The good news, solutions are within reach. Let's explore them now and turn these numbers into powerful momentum of Asia's ESG leadership. Now, here's where the hope shines through. We are not reinventing the wheel. Robust frameworks are already emerging, and critically, Asia is leading the charge. This blueprint aligns perfectly with the summit's call for stronger governance and policy innovation. By embracing these tools, we can shift from reactive compliance to proactive leadership, unlocking those sustainable finance flows that could reach trillions in our region, while tackling challenges from biodiversity loss to equitable transitions in energy. So as experts emphasize, harmonization isn't just about efficiency, it's the catalyst for systemic change. So first, we have the ISSB Global Baseline. Now the International Sustainability Standards Board, ISSB, establishes a universal grammar for disclosure. It ensures that we all report consistently on key material areas like climate risk, both physical and transition risk, and biodiversity impacts. The ISSB IFRS S1 and S2 standards bridge the gaps in comparability, making it easier for investors to assess true value and potentially reducing due diligence costs by 20 to 30% in cross-border deals. As you might be implementing in your own reporting cycles, this baseline is the foundation already being adopted or advanced in countries across Asia, including Hong Kong, Japan, and Malaysia. It's maturing our ESG ecosystem and ensuring our data is credible. Second, the ASEAN Taxonomy for Sustainable Finance. This is truly our regional gem with its brilliant multi-tiered approach. Green for high-impact activities like large-scale renewables. Amber for those in transition, like energy efficiency upgrades in heavy industries. And red for harmful ones to phase out. Why is this important? Because it respects our diverse economies, from advanced hubs to emerging markets, offering practical pathways without that rigid one-size-fits-all approach. This is essential for inclusive strategies that incorporate social safeguards like worker retraining. As you might be implementing in your regional operations, this taxonomy's principle-based approach is already mobilizing green finance, estimated at 200 billion annually across ASEAN. The latest version 3 refines those tiers, proving we are constantly evolving and improving its usability. Third, national pioneers are setting sharp, clear examples. China's Green Bond Catalogue, for instance, has evolved significantly, tightening its focus by excluding clean coal and other fossil fuels projects. Now this shift ensures fund allocation goes to truly verifiable, sustainable projects supporting their ambitious dual carbon goals. Similarly, Malaysia's climate change and principle-based taxonomy, CCPT, provides a necessary flexibility that complements rules-based systems, classifying activities across guiding principles and social safeguards. Recent updates are designed to streamline implementation for financial institutions, balancing environmental ambition with economic realities. So the key to this entire blueprint is not replacement, but interoperability. Think of it like a universal adapter for our system, ensuring seamless mapping between national, regional, and global taxonomies. This is how we avoid duplication and dramatically enhance the quality of our ESG data. And technology plays a starring role. AI platforms can automate alignments across these taxonomies, slashing administrative burdens by 30% or more. This frees up for real innovation in areas like circular economy models and social impact investments. This blueprint transforms how we operate, turning ESG challenges into opportunities for resilient, inclusive growth across Asia. Let's delve deeper into the innovative tiers of the ASEAN Taxonomy, which provides a real working model for the region. The ASEAN Taxonomy three-tier system is nothing short of a masterstroke, designed with our region's fundamental realities in mind. We have diverse starting points from advanced economies to emerging markets, but a shared fierce ambition for sustainability. This framework is profoundly inclusive. It supports our climate change, our climate action goals by facilitating phased decarbonization, and it supports social impact by enabling gradual, equitable shifts for safeguard livelihoods. It means that a country like Indonesia, grappling with coal reliance, and a hub like Singapore, advancing in green fintech, can both move forward on a credible, tailored path. No one gets left behind in our journey to net zero. The calibration of these tiers is grounded in science-based pathways like the IEA and IPCC reports, ensuring that our progress is verifiable and aligned with global standards. So let's look at these three tiers. Tier 1 is green. Now, this is for activities already making a substantial environmental contribution that delivers verifiable positive outcomes. Think of building a new solar farm in Vietnam that not only generates clean energy, but also creates thousands of green jobs in rural areas. Boosting social equity, or advanced circular manufacturing that repurposes materials, minimizing landfill impacts. In practice, this tier is calibrated using stringent quantitative metrics, like setting life cycle GHG emissions for solar power below 100 grams of carbon dioxide equivalent per kilowatt hour. These activities must also meet do no significant harm (DNSH) criteria to other objectives such as biodiversity protection. This is where investors can confidently channel funds, knowing the projects are high sustainability, high impact, and fully aligned with a 1.5 degrees Celsius pathway. So next is Tier 2, Amber. This is arguably the genius of the ASEAN approach. This is for transitioning activities that are on a credible path to sustainability. So we recognize that overnight changes aren't feasible for everyone, and that abrupt exit from high carbon sectors can cause economic shock and exacerbate social inequalities. Amber allows for the just transition. Think of a cement plant installing initial carbon capture technology to slash emissions without halting operations immediately, or energy efficiency upgrades in Thai manufacturing. Calibration here focuses on transitional thresholds, less rigorous than green, but requiring concrete, time-based remediation measures to transition, RMT. For example, a fossil fuel asset may qualify as amber if it commits to mandatory sunset clauses and implements social safeguards like worker retraining programs. This tier promotes inclusivity by embedding social safeguards and providing a clear ladder to green status over time. Finally, Tier 3 is red. Now this is for harmful activities without viable transition plans. Think of unabated coal power without retrofit strategies or agriculture linked to aggressive deforestation. Now, these processes cause irreversible environmental damage and pose massive health and reputational risk. This classification is binary, harm-based signal. It means failure to meet any technical criteria or causing unremediable significant harm. It underscores governance accountability by urging rapid divestments and protecting ESG investments from major liabilities. So this three-tier framework doesn't demand that Laos PDR leap to Singapore's level instantly. It offers credible, tailored pathways for every economy. It builds trusts in investments and supply chains by providing clear ESG metrics for risk assessment and impact measurement. See how these tiers connect in a progressive ladder. It's practical progress we can all rally behind, turning potential silos into collaborative bridges for Asia's sustainable future. And who better to drive this standardization than our regulators? So let's now discuss this crucial role. To the fellow regulators and policymakers in the room, you are the architects shaping this alignment. And your leadership is absolutely crucial. In my own experience driving regional economic integration through the Asean Economic Community blueprint, I saw firsthand how harmonizing standards unlocks massive trade and investment flows. Today, applying that same foresight to sustainable finance taxonomies is what will propel us toward ASEAN's vision of a single and future-ready economy. We need to weave ESG principles into our integration efforts. Here is a clear playbook, informed by on-the-ground realities and the capacity gaps we have long navigated in our emerging economies. First, resist the urge to start entirely new frameworks. Instead, adopt the ASEAN taxonomy for your foundational guide. Why? Because building on a common ASEAN framework immediately enables interoperability. This is how you reduce compliance costs for businesses by an estimated 20 to 30% in cross-border green investments, while aligning with global standards like the ISSB to draw in international funders. Think of this as extending the AEC's single market ethos directly to sustainable finance. Early adopters like Malaysia's Bank Negara have already integrated the taxonomy into national policies, demonstrating how this fosters economic cohesion and ESG-driven growth. Second, create clear translation guides that map your national classifications directly to the ASEAN globe and global taxonomies. We need to make it straightforward for businesses like ours to comply, without guesswork. This mirrors our past successes in the AEC with mutual recognition arrangements for standards. These guides should incorporate practical tools like decision trees or digital platforms to ensure seamless alignment, especially for those economies where ESG capacity is still developing. This not only enhances governance transparency, but also accelerates social impacts by enabling small enterprises to access green finance, much like the AEC facilitated SME integration into regional value chains. Third, lead by example. Singapore's Monetary Authority is doing this brilliantly. MAS is aligning its green finance initiatives with the ASEAN taxonomy and funding implementation projects. by actively extending grants for taxonomy-aligned projects. MES is catalyzing a powerful ripple effect across the region. This is estimated to unlock $200 billion in annual sustainable finance by 2030. This commitment is the kind of foresight that transforms regional ambitions into tangible outcomes, from enhanced foreign direct investments to job creation in our growing green sectors. So these 3 steps reduce confusion and unlock progress. They pave the way for a deeper economic integration where sustainable finance is cornerstone of our future. Now, if you are a policymaker here today, I urge you, commit to developing one such translation guide this year. Great. Now that we have set the policy architecture, let's shift to how businesses and finance sectors in this room can actively catalyze and accelerate this change. Business leaders and industry peers, you are the proactive implementers turning strategy into reality. Like the collaboration I fostered in the China-ASEAN Business Alliance, you're the ones who navigate those real-world hurdles, which I discussed at the recent UNCTAD high-level conference in Bandung, Indonesia, in the middle of last year. How inconsistent regulations inflate costs and complicate the scaling of green projects. Your job is to integrate these taxonomies deeply. Get your CFOs, COOs, and strategy team aligned on what taxonomy aligned means for every single dollar of capital expenditure and R&D. Form coalitions to advocate with a unified voice. Tell regulators exactly what clarity you need for circular investments. You can also differentiate yourselves through verified alignment. Look at the Thai Union Group, which committed to 80% sustainable capital expenditure by 2030 through its Blue Finance Framework. By aligning with ASEAN Green Bond standards, they channel funds into responsible agriculture and decarbonization, ensuring their net zero targets are verified. This shows that ESG integration isn't just a cost center, it's a competitive edge that drives profitability while tackling massive challenges like ocean pollution. Financial institutions, you are the catalyst with capital. You leverage your influence to bridge those gaps we explored at UNCTAD, where greening financial policies was central to supporting economic transformation. You need to actively price misalignment risk by offering lower rates for verified taxonomy-aligned projects. This creates a powerful financial incentive for companies to transition. Make alignment a core ESG filter, not a side note. Integrate it into your due diligence to evaluate genuine decarbonization, a social economic growth, and strong governance safeguards. Prove your impact transparently, like DBS Bank does with its transition bonds. The proceeds are checked against ASEAN green and amber criteria for projects like solar and waste management, with clear assessment via a decision metrics and commitment to phase out dates. By prioritizing this alignment, you not only unlock the $200 billion in annual sustainable finance across ASEAN, but also amplify social outcomes like equitable access to green infrastructure. So this collective action from the supply chain to the balance sheet is what unlocks the funding opportunities we all seek. Delegates, so why not start a coalition discussion during today's networking breaks? In fact, by doing this, we turn policy into marketplace reality. And to protect the integrity of all these efforts, technology will be the final guard of our trust. To the technology providers, auditors, and innovators in the room, you are the guardians ensuring our claims to hold up. Your work is simplifying the path for all of us in this complex ESG landscape, where reliable data is the bedrock of credibility. My experience leading digitalization initiatives across the Asean Secretariat, coupled with my work on cybersecurity, governance, and responsible AI, has given me a front row seat on how technology can bridge regulatory gaps and foster regional trust. We can apply those lessons here. We need 3 core strategies to fortify ESG reporting. First, digitize reporting with AI platforms that automate mappings across taxonomies. Platforms like Credible or Gravity are using AI to streamline compliance amid the regulatory surge by cutting administrative loads by 30% or more. We free our teams to focus on real impact, not paperwork. This is essentially vital for smaller enterprises, enabling them to participate without overwhelming their resources. We must ensure that these tools also embed responsible AI principles to safeguard sensitive data integrity. Second, verify rigorously. We must evolve audits to provide solid assurance beyond basic advice. Think of integrating AI for real-time data validation, linking material risks to financial impacts. This is the future of ESG assurance, elevating audits into proactive risk management tools that align with global best practices and build stakeholder confidence transparently. Third, enable traceability. Technology must provide an immutable record of sustainability actions. Look at BASF, ResiChain blockchain, which verifies recycled plastics content across Asian supply chains. This promotes circular economy principles by tracking materials from source to end use and drastically reducing greenwashing risk in plastic-heavy regions like Southeast Asia. This is how we build transparency for trust and innovation. So to all technological stakeholders here, I encourage you, engage now, participate in co-creating ethical, inclusive tech ecosystem that will drive Asia's sustainable future. Let's wrap up with our collective vision for the road ahead. So let's circle back one last time to those 2 plastic bottles, the ones from Vietnam and Thailand. The perfect symbols of the everyday challenges in our fragmented sustainability landscape. So in the harmonized world we build together, those bottles will be evaluated against the same principal standards. Investors will compare them confidently and fairly, unlocking billions in green finance flows. Brand owners could weave them into truly circular, resilient supply chains that benefit our economies and our planet. This is more than just standardization. We are constructing the essential infrastructure for circular, prosperous Asia. So this shared destiny is one that is net zero and nature positive, with inclusive growth for all. It demands we embed ESG at every level. Environmentally, by regenerating biodiversity hotspots and slashing emissions. Socially, through equitable access to green jobs and community-driven initiatives that uplifts marginalized groups. And governance-wise, via transparent, taxonomies that build investor trust and regulatory harmony. Yet the journey is challenging. We face geopolitical tensions, skills gap, and funding shortfalls. But the roadmap is clear. It demands our courage to innovate our collaboration across borders and an unwavering commitment to shared metrics. We can draw from regional successes, like the studies showing how inclusive policies can boost SME involvement in recycling and resource efficiency, creating jobs and reducing waste across ASEAN. So let's not just document this transformation, let's architect it, starting today. I urge every leader in this room to commit to an actionable step, adopt harmonized taxonomies in your organization, and advocate for regional policy alignment. So as Principal Consultant for Public Policy Asia Advisor and also Strategic Advisor for SPACE ASEAN, I'm passionate about turning these visions into reality through policy harmonization and green innovation. So I invite you all to continue this conversation and collaborate with me. You can scan my linking QR code and connect with me directly. Together, we can make Asia a sustainable future happen. Thank you for your attention and your passion. I now welcome any questions or thoughts.
Any questions? I see a lot of happy faces. That means your storyline was very clear. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much for your attention, and please do connect with me on LinkedIn, and we can continue with our conversation on this very important topic. And if you do have any questions, I'll try my best to address them through LinkedIn. Thank you very much, and have a good day for the rest of this conference.
Give them one round of applause. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And if you wake up in the middle of the night,